and pledge allegiance.
How you doing? Good.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on to item C, approval of minutes from February 15th, 2021 special council meeting and February 15th, 2021 regular council meeting minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. Yeah, they stand approved. Item D is citizen communication. If there's someone that would like to address council, anything that is not on the agenda, you can please step forward now. Or if you are listening on WebEx, feel free to type in the chat, and we will check that periodically. Item E is Civic Center project update. I believe we have a guest.
Thank you.
If you could, for the record, please state your name.
Patricia Bilo,
Welcome.
521 Haley,
All right. Thank you.
Napoleon.
You have
Thank-
handouts? Pat?
Pardon?
Did you have handouts for us?
Yes, please. I appreciate it. I think I got plenty here.
Okay.
I want to take the top one. No, that's okay.
You want, is that right?
Yep, that's good.
You too.
Well, thank you, Joel and Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to bring you an update on the Napoleon Civic Center. And I put together, I think that you may have some background information, but just real quickly, I retired about a year ago, a little over a year ago, from gift planning with the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod Foundation, and I didn't feel like sitting home. And when I saw this article in the Northwest Signal about the possible demolition of the school, my heart sunk. And so I connected with Janet and Larry Line and offered to help. So that's how I got started. And one of the first things that I thought was important to do was to go around and see, go to different performing arts centers and see how they got started and how their funding is and, you know, what they're doing. And so Defiance is just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road. So we went there with some of the board members. In fact, we're going again on Thursday with some other board members. And it was an eye-opening experience. They have an old church that's been renovated, and they have the local TV station there. They have a 200-seat auditorium, and they had to cancel all of their events for this year. But this was the program that they had before COVID. And there's such a variety of things that they have. So since then I've talked with their executive director, who is, Roger Fisher, and their marketing director, Peg McDonald. These are wonderful people. They're a great resource for us. He gave me all kinds of information about programs and funding as well. So we're very excited about it. They have 32, I think they had 30 performances that they had lined up for this season that they had to cancel. He said in this area, Northwest Ohio, country music is king. And he said It'd be great if you could get Johnny Cash, a tribute to Johnny Cash or Patsy Cline on a Saturday night in November when it doesn't interfere with Ohio State football. So we'll make sure we do that. This is really what it's all about. We have to be occupancy by June 15, 2022. And this started back in, I think it was 2017, when the property was deeded over to Napoleon Civic Center. Unfortunately, there was a $100,000 debt when I became involved with it. This has been the one stickler that's been very difficult to overcome. And we didn't want to publicize a whole lot until we can say the debt is done. And we have offered, we've made an offer, we feel we're going to get to the bottom of it, we're going to get it done. So we're looking at change. These are some of the changes that we have made since, I think it was October. We have a new logo. We have a new name for it. Instead of Napoleon Civic Center, we felt it was really important to call it Cultural Center of Henry County. Include the whole county, not just Napoleon, because we want to create some ownership. We want people to be involved, and there's so many wonderful people in Henry County. We have a new Board of Trustees, a leadership team. Many of you know, I'm sure, Steve and Julie Bush. They are co-presidents. They saved the Armory and the Senior Center. Patty Wimpkin, wonderful person. She's a teacher. She's been a teacher for 25 years, or an educator for more than 25 years. She teaches at Tenora. Her in-laws are Henry and Rose Wimpkin. You may know them. Judy Swearline is retired from Henry County, and Mark Schwiebert is a farmer with quite an operation. I think it's called New Vision Farms, and he's very well respected. These are really good people. And this really kind of says it all on the front page. With your help, this historic school building located in Napoleon will no longer be destined for demolition. Any of you take the Toledo Blade, there are several buildings being restored now. The Jefferson Center downtown was the old post office. It's a gorgeous place. Architecture is just outstanding. It was facing the wrecking ball too, but now they're resurrecting that. The old Pythian Castle downtown is being renovated. So we don't want to lose these precious buildings. And I think this was built back in the 1920s. It would be the venue for a performing arts and athletic center serving Henry County and the surrounding areas. I'm sorry, my voice is shaky. I haven't had anything to drink for a while. It will be the venue for performing arts and athletic center serving Henry County and the surrounding areas. From musical concerts to plays to volleyball, basketball practices, there are two huge, you probably know, gymnasiums. Beautifully, they're just gorgeous. And the auditorium seats up to 700 people. So that's the largest auditorium. Oh, thank you. That's the largest auditorium in Henry County as far as I know. And we feel that this will attract people seeking quality entertainment and a getaway weekend to explore downtown Napoleon. Downtown Napoleon is so important. There's so many beautiful buildings downtown, and we feel that people will come if there's activities here at the Performing Arts Center. And you can have a getaway weekend to explore downtown, and also all of Henry County. There's all kinds of festivals going on, too, in the summertime. But now with COVID, it's been a little different. We have a goal of $1.3 million. I feel very confident that we will be able to raise that money. I feel that I've met with a lot of people before I even went into this on a volunteer basis, and I was thrilled to hear some of the comments that people had about this facility. And I'll just read a couple of them for you. Somebody wrote, Julie, Steve, these came in with donations. Just want to thank you guys for stepping up and taking over this project. It couldn't be in better hands. I put many, many hours into what was to be Party Central, which Kenny, rest his soul, had put me in charge of. I have no idea of your plans. However, I do have a file of ideas and sketches for that room, the kindergarten room on the northwest corner, if you are ever interested. Some other comments. People just write all kinds of different things on little notes. Somebody said, please get this done, exclamation point. Somebody else said, my kids participated back in the day and loved it. I heard a lot of comments about Kenny Neuenschwander's, what was it called? The drama class or whatever it was called. Somebody else said, I'll pledge you $1,000 a year. And somebody else said, we need this, exclamation point. Another one, it would be a great boost for Henry County. And finally, the biggest one was, the name change is great. And then the last one, get the debt paid, then I will support. And I think that's where, I think we'll have a lot more supporters once we get that debt paid.
Pat, how much money has the group raised since the new leadership team came in?
We've raised 50 million, or 50.
50 billion? Yeah!
Yeah, 50,000.
Okay.
50,000. And we've already given 47,000 on the debt. So we're offering another 50,000. But Jeff Lankenow is our attorney pro bono, and Jeff is working with their attorney. We want to get this thing done. We got to get it done. So we're trying as best we can. I think one of the things I know this project is going to have to take some major donors. And we do have major donors in this area. But it's a matter of building up trusting relationships. And to do that, it's a one-on-one. And not just one meeting, but several, lots of different meetings. COVID has really played a role in slowing us down. In my former work, I met with a lot of people one-on-one, and this is where that trust relation develops, and I'm excited about the relationships that the people that I've worked with over the years. I'd be glad to entertain any questions. We're also thinking about sustaining funds for this, because it's one thing to get the building renovated for the Performing Arts Center, but quite another with what are we going to do with the rest of it, and how do you sustain it? Well, there are people that are willing to rent out, like some of these vendors that want rooms. There's a lot of rooms in the West Wing that would be available. And there's a number of different organizations who have indicated an interest. I'm not from Napoleon or Henry County for that matter. But I'm hearing a lot of feedback about the possibilities. With Defiance, they have a great setup. They have a $250,000 budget, and that covers, taking care of the facility. It covers the events that they have. And I'm getting a copy of their budget too, so we get a better feel for how they're doing things.
That 1.3 million will save basically the John L. Johnson and then the snake pit underneath.
And the auditorium, and, yeah, the auditorium and also the gymnasium, possibly both gymnasiums. We're
Okay.
not sure yet. Then, what do you do with the rest of the building? Well, there's been, I think, previous discussions about having an outdoor theater. A lot of people have talked about condominiums. There's a real need for condos now. With the aging of America, we're all getting older. We want to downsize. So that's a possibility too. It would take a special developer to do that. I love Defiance. I love the setup that they have. I think that's really quite nice. But I think we're lacking here in Henry County with this kind of opportunity.
Well, I hope this works out. I hope you get the donors that you need. And obviously, you've put a lot of time and work into that, which is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
I hope it succeeds.
It will. I feel very confident.
City council at one time did a letter of support. If that's needed again, will you let us know?
Oh, I'd
What do
love
you mean
that.
by that?
Just a
If-
letter
if
saying
we-
we're in support of the project,
Oh,
I think the last one said, we're just basically, the city council is in favor of the project going forward.
It's the stamp of approval, but no sort of obligation.
No obligation, just that,
I would say if we really want this to happen, we need to have a lot of support.
Yeah.
We really do. I think it'd be tremendous for the community, and I think it would attract, I think about Ellery Supper Club. Anybody remember
Yeah.
Ellery Supper Club? Sure. Well, my grandmother had a house right close by, and that place was a hole in the wall. But do you know, and those Chuck and Judy English are good friends of mine, so I'm not saying anything against them at all. They're good people. But that little place attracted people from all over.
yep.
It absolutely did. And I think this is not going to be a hole in the wall, I can tell you that. But I think we're getting some good figures. When I met with Roger in Defiance, he said that they got their new theater seats for $200 each. And he's got the name of the vendor, and I think they would be a good resource for us. Hillsdale College is selling their theater seats for $5,000 each.
wow.
And people like the idea of having their seat with their name on the back.
Right, yep.
So. Any other questions or comments?
Anyone else?
Appreciate the update.
Yes, thanks, Pat.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.
Sure. Okay, moving on to item F, reports from council committees. F1, Finance and Budget Committee was canceled due to lack of agenda items. F2, Safety and Human Resource Committee met on February 22nd. And Dan?
Yeah, we recommended that City Council approve the 2021 Fire and EMS projected service contract cost with Freedom, Harrison, and Napoleon Township, as well as the Henry County South Joint Ambulance District and the Village of Florida, using the 2020 actual expenses and revenues, and directing the law director to draft the respective contracts and legislation for each entry, which we will discuss later.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan. Item F3, Technology and Communications Committee did not meet tonight due to lack of agenda items. We'll move on to item H, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions. H1, ordinance number 003-21, an ordinance amending chapter 955 of the codified ordinances of the City of Napoleon, Ohio, specifically Section 955.09J regarding motorized cart fees. Joel, okay, motion?
So moved.
Move. Second.
Hey, Joel?
Thank you, Council President. Just to sort of recap, sort of the genesis of this, there were some questions. I think a council member had asked, what are we doing with the carts if people want to drive their own personal carts onto the course? And what Tony did is did some research on what courses do to if there's a charge, and some courses don't, public courses don't allow private carts to be on their course. They have to rent their own carts from that facility. Most places do that. Some do allow for carts to be brought onto their courses, and you have to pay a trail fee, and typically it's half of the cost of what it would be for rental of a cart at the facility. So, he brought that to the Parks and Rec Board. The Parks and Rec Board approved of that as the recommendation of council, and then as you see now, it's before you as it is. And if you pardon me a moment while I pull up the actual legislation here. And right now, it's just it's a private cart fee. For annual is $130, and then it's got the private motorized for 9 holes per visit per se, and then there's the 10-round rental as well, and it just kind of mimics what our rates are now, just half. I think looking at it, it was just something, since we don't have it on the books now, and since we do have the allowance for private carts for slow moving vehicles to be driven on roads if they're plated and licensed, then the thought was, would they be able to drive their carts onto the course? And the short answer is yes, but as of right now, there's nothing on the books to charge them. If a charge would want to be, or a fee would want to be established. So that's why there's nothing on the books to address it. That was what came out of the Parks and Rec Board meeting, and that's kind of how this came about and was formed. So that's all I have to say about it.
So these numbers were not necessarily based on any need for that amount of money. It's just based on research from other courses and how they've handled it.
Correct. That's exactly how it was. It was research based on the courses that do allow carts to be on the course. What do they charge? And this was comparable to what the other courses that allowed carts did. And it was just a starting point, and it's for the discussion, and it just, the board went with it.
Right. And it needed to be addressed because I know there are some people with carts already, and they're getting excited about using them, especially with regard to golf. But I have had some time to think about this. I've had some conversation. One resident, Michael Neese, had talked to him a few times. He's a newer resident to Napoleon, and looking forward to getting his cart street legal. It's not yet. Needs to be licensed and stuff, and was disappointed by the fact that he would be charged on top of his greens fee, because as a taxpayer, he feels that he's already contributing to the golf course. But of course, I took into account what Tony and the board came up with, and I appreciate the work on that, but I do think that maybe we are trying to fix something that maybe doesn't need to be fixed. So I would be in favor of, rather than charging for this year and reevaluating next year, not charging this year and then reevaluating next year, and just see how much traffic we get, and if it is causing a need for extra maintenance and there would be more money needed, then we could talk about charging at that point.
I kind of feel the same. I think when we talked to Tony, there's only, less than a handful of times that people actually utilize this. So is there really a need to, it's almost like we're going to detour people from, hey, we passed that you can drive these on the street if you get them, licensed and everything, but now we're going to charge you if you want to bring them to our course. So I agree with Lori. Maybe hold off and evaluate if Tony's crew at the golf course can keep track in 2021. First of all, see if there's many carts even being used there, private carts, and kind of go from there.
And that can be a good thing. If you look at it a different way. You got more people using the course. They're bringing their carts. Would they show up otherwise, or it might be something for them to do? And if they're getting excited about it, then why deter them from coming? Invite them to come there and use the course and pay the full greens fees, which is actually higher than what the cart rental fee is. And then if they get any concessions, then that's just adds to it.
I'd like to see the actual numbers behind who is going to be bringing their own cart. Does it really kind of just wash out in the end?
It's more of an attraction to have
Yes.
something to differentiate your city from other cities, having the carts on the street. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more this summer. And then the golf course just is kind of logical, I think.
Especially with the new clubhouse. Everybody's going to want to drive up and see it, and while they're there,
I know.
Why not play some golf?
yeah.
What would we do there?
Just call a question, just won't know that it's dead.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Do you need a motion not to do this?
No, you just vote
No,
no on
just
the,
vote.
you vote no on the legislation.
All right,
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
No.
Ann,
No.
Joe,
No.
Lori,
No.
Jeff,
no?
Molly.
No.
Okay, that has been turned down on first read.
That is rare.
It is very rare.
I mean, it really is. That it goes 6-0 no's. Or 06, I don't know how you count that. That's how rare it is, don't know how to count it.
That doesn't happen in Washington.
How do you score that?
All right, moving on to item H2, ordinance number 004-21. An ordinance approving the renewal of a certain agricultural district located in the city of Napoleon, Ohio, at the location of County Road P as applied for by Linda Otterman, and declaring an emergency.
Motion?
Second.
Joel?
Thank you. This is more of a, I guess, formality than anything, but this was the renewal of the property right off of Road P as an agricultural district, which needs to happen once every 5 to 10 years, I believe. I think it's 5 years.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes?
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item H3, resolution number 005-21. A resolution authorizing the city manager and/or mayor of the city of Napoleon to sign the application in order to execute the necessary contracts and documents to apply for the Safe Routes to School program, Round 1 from the Ohio Department of Transportation, for the purpose of implementing a Safe Routes to School program and completing a Safe Routes to School travel plan, and declaring an emergency, and suspension is requested. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Joel?
Thank you. This is part of actually fulfilling one of the obligations of the Napoleon area schools campus-wide improvement agreement. And what we committed to and the schools committed to is partnering together on applying for a Safe Routes to School grant. And this actually helps with, filling in some of the gaps. Some areas, there's no sidewalks in front of some of the lots. It improves a lot of the crosswalks. It improves the pedestrian traffic for that area. We're also looking at, I think I mentioned this once before, but as a part of their phase 1 of their parking plan that they, I believe, just approved for bid. One of the items is, what do we do about the intersection of Bales and Westmoreland? One of the thoughts is that if we do improve pedestrian traffic in that area, which this grant would help address, do we turn that intersection into a 3-way stop? That will be, if that thought process materializes, that'll come back to council, because that'll be something that needs to be addressed in the parking ordinance, or I'm sorry, I said parking ordinance, but the traffic ordinance adopted by council. So, but this is, the Safe Routes to School grant addresses a lot of different small needs, and all over, including off of Glenwood, even all the way down that far. So, and crosswalks at Claremont and Kenilworth and some of the other places, and on there's a map in the application that kind of denotes all of the different locations where various improvements will be made. So it is a requirement of the grant application to have legislation. The application will be submitted if council approves this under a suspension later this week. So that's the reason why a suspension is requested. Any questions on that, or?
And I'm sort of just calling this sort of a tag on to what we already talked about on Jan's Road and Riverview, and that grant from a couple of years ago that's coming in 2022, I believe.
That's right. So this does tie into that. Some of the things that were omitted from that application is what's now being added as part of this even. So sometimes what they do, and even with these grants also, is that if it is awarded, and that's a big if, but this is competitive, but if it's awarded, sometimes what they'll do is say, well, you ask for this amount of money, let's say, throw a number, $500,000, but, can you live with $300,000? And that way it helps them disperse funds out to different projects, more projects, I guess. But yes, that Jan's Road and the connector from Ritter Park to downtown is slated to be completed in 2022.
Could the intersection of Cary and Woodlawn be put into this, or is it already there, or what?
There isn't a crosswalk on Woodlawn, but I believe it's at Claremont.
Okay.
And the reason, this is pedestrian, so it's Safe Routes to School for biking and walking traffic. So there are improvements that are slated for that, because right now there are no crossings really to help get across Woodlawn per se. So the Claremont was kind of in the middle, and a logical place to
I was asked
have that.
earlier last week if we anticipated putting a light back up.
That is not in the plans, but something to
Or
look at.
can we,
You said Cary and Woodlawn?
yes. But the light was down to Kenilworth and Woodlawn at that, when school was there. There used to be a light there.
Okay, Claremont?
Claremont.
Claremont.
Yes.
Claremont, Woodlawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or can we do something with the speed? Is speed in the safe route? Is there something,
Depends on the scenario, and I don't
Sure.
think any of the improvements we're looking at address speed limits specifically.
all right,
Was there a specific issue?
yeah, they said Woodlawn is terrible for speed.
What's the speed limit on there now? Is it
35?
35.
35?
We've talked about this before.
Yes, but
There's no stop though between
Mhm.
the railroad tracks and the four-way stop. Titanic.
The traffic light at Clinton Street, all the way out to Glenwood, there's no,
Yeah, and the only slow down is the railroad track. Yeah,
and
And there's a bad spot there at that,
well, I'm just,
yeah.
yeah.
when they redesigned the street, they lowered the pavement level so that a normal car cannot see cars coming from town on the railroad track. That's why they have so many accidents there.
Well, can we get back with you on that? And
Sure.
at least we can look back and see what the history of accidents are on that
Sure.
intersection and see what, come up with, we can even come up with options, I think, that, for muni properties.
Yeah.
And then, it might be that the option is no change.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just, if we could have some time to
The reason I'm saying,
evaluate.
Joe, I had a customer in last Friday, and he said, you know how I'm gonna get people to slow down? I'm gonna put my car out in the road when I mow my yard. I said,
geez.
don't do that. He said, I can slow people down that way. I said, let us handle this.
So Joel, did you mention that the intersection at Claremont and Woodlawn right now is part of the, because it has that walkway there?
Yeah.
So kind of what Jeff's
It's kind of
saying,
a
would it
direct
be
connector.
not necessarily changing the speed limit on Woodlawn, but could that be a school zone if it's already for kids crossing there for school, where during those hours?
Or have those pedestrian lights.
Not a school zone, but there are pedestrian lights. Okay, if you drive down 424 into Waterville as you get to Farnsworth Park, there's a pedestrian crosswalk with a light. So
Right.
it actually is a signal, it flashes, it beeps, it alarms, it's got all of that, it's got the crosswalk hatches in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people actually walk there, but
Right.
I imagine if it's dangerous for people to cross, do people really use it? So if you improve it, are more people gonna use it? You know what I mean? So there's always that. If you build it, will they come kind of a scenario, but.
For a long time, there was a blinking red light on West Washington and Norton. During the school year, it would flash. And 2 weeks after school, it would flash, and 2 weeks before school, it would flash. That just helped get the kids to West School out of that neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that is another possibility as we look at our traffic pattern there. Do we need a flashing red light at some point during school hours? I don't know, I'm just, there's all kinds of different ways to skin this cat, right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
take a look at it and see what we come up with.
It sounds like
Yeah.
this needs to be part of a different, though, legislation.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, yes,
That's why
yes.
I
agree.
was just asking
Yep.
the question if
Yep.
this area could be, or is involved in on it.
What I'll do is, at least in the packet, just give a detailed, for the application purpose of that
Yeah, that's fine.
section. And put it in, at the end of the week. Send it to, so you have it.
All right, thanks.
What's in the application now. So just so you know that if awarded, this ODOT likes to take their time. So it probably wouldn't happen until 2024 is when the project would be completed.
All right.
Motion for suspension?
We need to suspend it so they can
Yeah.
wait for
Yes.
3 more years.
Exactly. Thinking the same thing. Hurry up and wait.
Wait.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll on suspension.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes?
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hey, Rox, please call the roll on the resolution.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes?
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that has passed on first read under suspension. Okay, moving on to item I, second read ordinances and resolutions.
I-1 is ordinance number 002-21, an ordinance accepting the annexation to the city of Napoleon of 3.38 acres of land, more or less owned by William R. Myers. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Joel?
Requesting second read.
I was gonna take a drink while you were talking. That's all. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item J, third reads of ordinances and resolution. J1 is ordinance number 001-21, an ordinance amending ordinance number 067-20 regarding compensation of the Napoleon Municipal Court bailiff in and for the year 2021, and declaring an emergency. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Joel?
Nothing new to add.
Anybody have any additional questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that has passed on third read. Okay, moving on to item K. K1 on the agenda, we actually approved last meeting. That was the power supply adjustment factor, so there's no need to revisit that. Moving on to item K2, discussion or action approval of contract of professional services with Courtney and Associates for electric utility cost of service study. Joel?
Thank you, Council President. This is something that we discussed in our budget. We were actually going to do this in 2020. We didn't. We held off because of the pandemic for one reason. But the other reason, we just wanted to see how things shook out with the pandemic, and since we've gotten this far, we're comfortable moving forward. We think things have normalized. I'm recommending that we go with Courtney and Associates. That's who we have been using over the past several cost of service studies for many years. Not to say that we couldn't use somebody else, but he has more of an intimate knowledge of our system and our rate structures. Also, he's been kind of one of the leaders in, to quote one of the Mayor Mazel's lines from the State of the City, this would be a good opportunity for us to adjust our rate structure to accommodate for some of that behind-the-meter generation, anticipating behind-the-meter generation items that we should all be ready for. So that, when it does hit, when people want to put solar onto their rooftops and things like that, which is all fine. It's just that we got to make sure that our distribution grid still is recovering what needs to be recovered to operate and maintain it. Because no matter what, anybody that puts anything on their rooftop or puts any kind of behind-the-meter generation in is going to require that grid still, regardless. So they're just not going to be able to operate completely off the grid. They still need that. The poles, the transformers, the wires, the substations, everything that goes into our electric system still has to be that just-in-time delivery service for them for when they need it. So that's my 2 cents on this item, and requires approval from council. It is in the master bid ordinance, and which is why it's not legislation and or in the master vendor ordinance. So, any questions on that?
So when was the last time we had study done for the electric?
I was told 8 years.
Yeah.
What was that?
2012.
2012? Was it?
I'd say, I think it's been done since I've been here.
9 years.
I was in
Usually-
water, doing sewer, but I don't think we've done one of these.
Typically, they say industry standard is once every 5 years, or when you have big changes in your system, and it could be, like generating sources. So since then, 9 years ago, we've had new generation that we're purchasing power from and contracts with AMP. We've got the AMP-T contract that could, grow into more. There's other factors that weigh into this. I mean, just overall our staffing levels. I mean, marginal shifts, but when you're talking, 12 to 14 people, having one person, eliminating one position or adding one position makes a big difference. So.
With our talks with the substations, possibly selling them to AMP and different things, will this study touch on that at all, or is that something completely different?
It's a total cost of service study, so I would say yes.
Okay, good.
I've never been through an electric one before, though, so I just want to make sure that we're accounting. We will be able to account for the AMP-T items that we have in place now. By the time this is done, we may or may not have the second deal closed, and that's still in committee, and hopefully at some point it comes out of committee sometime soon. It's taken longer than I would like, but I understand the circumstances too. We are one of the next on the list to close on, so within 3 months or so, 3 to 6 months, we should have some answers to be able to move forward. But other than that, yes, it will accommodate for that, because that is going to be a regular source of revenue for the electric fund. Because it's not just the one-time windfall, it's the ongoing recovery of the maintenance piece.
So then the study should show us both ways, because we haven't agreed and haven't had that sold yet, so we're gonna see if we decided to keep it.
You're talking about capitalizing rather than going with AMP-T.
Right, well, one or the other, and if we're doing a study, we should probably see both sides.
I mean, we could. I mean, it's just gonna cost more, but I think we had that figured out already, what it would wind up costing.
Well, it's a big number, you're gonna have to have that study done, I don't know how much more it is. Let John Courtney say, if we're gonna give us an option, how much more does it cost John Courtney to do that option for us?
Yeah,
When-
okay.
I understand it's kind of the path we're on, but you have to have somebody with different eyes look at it. May not be the worst idea ever, right?
Yeah,
If it's gonna double the cost of service or survey, probably not.
Right.
If it's gonna be a 10% add-on, then probably yeah. Right, you know what I mean, so.
yep. Anything else?
So this is, go ahead.
Sure.
I just want to know, like it says approval of contract, how, do we have a date, like when they're gonna start and when expect it to be completed?
No, I don't have, it, just like with the, the water and sewer ones, it depends on our availability. By ours, I mean Kelly and my availability, what information he needs, what we can get to him, and how many times we go over it and review it. So I couldn't tell you, because I haven't been through one of these yet.
Okay.
And it's,
Right.
it's a different, it's not like water and sewer. I think my opinion is water and sewer are easier, but that's because I come from the water and sewer world, so it's a little easier for me to pick up, but I think in the electric side, it's much more complicated because you're dealing with market purchases, you're dealing with contracts from, you know, multiple, you know, probably over a dozen projects that we're in, that are all in varying stages of debt service.
Right.
You know, and it just varies. I think there's more variables in this than there are in water and sewer.
Go ahead, Lori.
I was just gonna say, just gonna confirm, obviously, if it's that complicated, this is not something we could do in-house. This is something we would need
No.
someone.
Yeah, on the electric side, yes. I think in the water and sewer one, I think we can handle those going forward.
Well, after this one, you'll be an expert for next time.
I hope so. but
8
we'll
years,
see.
right?
That's the other part of the equation and the scheduling piece. You know, we're not, Kelly and I aren't gonna go into this haphazardly either, and just, you know, hand it over and let them do it. It's, you know, we're gonna learn the process, learn the inputs, what all goes into it in more detail, so we can have a deeper, better understanding of how our rates are formed.
Any other questions? We need a motion for approval.
Motion?
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item K3, discussion and action on downtown revitalization grant application.
Thank you, Council President. This is just requesting, I guess, approval from council to apply for the downtown revitalization grant. This is something that we'd received in the past. I believe it was awarded in 2014 the last time, ended in 2016. This helped the downtown business owners achieve a few things. You know, one of the items was actually knocking the building down, putting in the parking lot off the Main Street Mall, and there were some other items too. And really, the grant application process, there is a match involved, but that comes from the property owners. And the property owners have to buy into this, really, and it's not the same format that it was in 2014. Format that was back then was a lot more cumbersome. It was much a different process. It couldn't be managed by the city. It had to be managed by the downtown group. There were a lot of stipulations. Very difficult to operate a grant like this. Now, since they've refined the process, they limit the number of projects to 3. So 3 property owners are interested. I can tell you that one of the properties is the Heller Building. The Heller Building is the one with Country Gourmet, cupcake, Cakewalk. Cakewalk Cakery. Jeffrey's, and I believe Soaring Arts is now in that other space where Mike's Antiques used to be. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The one on the end?
Was on the other side. No, I don't know.
Oh.
Something new.
Yeah.
You guys have something new over there where the old Sterling store was.
Okay.
So that property owner is interested, and the Vokey Building is the other one. Some pretty significant improvements to just maintain the buildings. You know, it could be roof improvements, HVAC, things like that, major improvements. And like I said, there is a match requirement. It used to be 50%. We're gonna try to still keep it at 50%, but I think it's gone down. Since this is competitive, the more match you can have, the better off you are. We do have 2 options. we had three options. The one option, the number one option we were gonna go with on one of the buildings has opted out. We are looking at two other options for the grant. Two property owners are interested, but we just gotta see. And we are working with Maumee Valley Planning Organization. They're actually the ones putting the application together. That's it. They'll hopefully be the ones managing it too. I think they will, so if that's the case, it makes it a lot easier for us. But it still has to come, the application has to come from the city, so they're gonna write and submit the application on our behalf. Any questions on that?
No, sir, you need a motion
A
for it?
motion, yeah, I guess typically something this big would request a approval from council.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K4, discussion or action on recommendation to approve the 2021 fire and EMS projected service contract costs with Freedom, Harrison, and Napoleon Townships, and the Henry County South Joint Ambulance District, and the Village of Florida, using the 2020 actual expenses and revenues, and directing the law director to draft legislation, or draft respective contracts and legislation for each entity. Joel?
Thank you. I don't have anything to add on this right now, but I will when we go to that first read. So just requesting, there was a comment made that we were gonna look into, the non-emergency transports. And I think that at this point, we'll just wait until the first read of legislation comes about and talk about that then, in 3 weeks, because it's fifth Monday.
All right.
Does that work,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair?
You asking me?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Are you fine with that, Chief?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Are you fine?
I'm good.
Just checking.
Thanks for checking, appreciate it.
So you need a motion to have the law director, is that what you need?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K5, discussion or action approval of state infrastructure bank loan for Oakwood and American Road TIF District, and to direct the law director to draft legislation. Anything on this, Joel?
Just, this is the continuation of the American Road project. We formed the TIF district. The formation of the TIF district with the approvals of both school districts, since this TIF district falls in both school districts, is to help pay for the costs for the additional improvements on American Road and on Oakwood down to Freedom Drive. Total project cost is about $1.85 million. We would be applying for roughly $1.55 million as the loan, since we have grant funds for the other portion. So with that said, this was part of the plan, and hopefully if council approves, we can move forward with the application and the TIF district, have the TIF district proceeds pay for the improvements. So we'll have the basic loan terms and conditions formed as a part of the agreement with the SIB program, and that's it. So, any questions?
No questions? All right, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Moving on to item K6, discussion or action supplemental number 1 to the 2021 budget, and direct the law director to draft legislation.
There's, for the pool money, additional money for the project, for the 4.1 million total bond.
Awesome. All
Did you
right.
catch that? No. Lori, can you come and just talk to the microphone real quick, just to make sure we get it for the notes? I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. It's for additional money for the project for the 4.1 million for the pool, for the bond.
Awesome. Do we have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
All right, could I have a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item K7, discussion or action approval to apply for various grants. Police Department.
Chief Mack is on the line, so Chief,
Is he muted?
he is muted. I just,
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah, we're liking to apply for, one of them is the Community Outreach Grant through the Pilot Chiefs Association. There's another one that's through the Firehouse Subs. And then obviously, we have our normal VAPS grants that we apply through BWC and the JAG. There's a VAWA, which is Violence Against Women's, that we're exploring as well. That would be a partnership, Center for Child and Family Advocacy. So those are just a few of them that are on our agenda, but we're coming into grant time, March, so I just wanted to reach out and get approval to apply all those. For the most part, the PES grants are just a percentage. They're a reimbursement grant. Equipment, I applied for one today through PET, our insurance carrier. That would be for equipment with no matches.
Cool. Great, thank you, Chief, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item K8, discussion or action, liquor permit application, Riverport Properties LLC, DBA Docksiders 22 at 210 East Maumee Street, Napoleon, Ohio. Joel?
thank you. This would be for, this is for the liquor permit application. This is the property, oh, what was it, the old Riverview Lounge? Is that what it used to be
Right.
called?
The old
Okay.
Azul Tequila.
Yep.
The old
Done.
Azul Tequila? Okay, yeah. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things.
So, yep, they are requesting, or applying for a D5L, which is the, I guess, for lack of a better term, overflow D5 permits to allow to serve alcohol in a bar till 2 a.m. That's, and it's a D5, it's in its overflow because it is in our revitalization district. If you recall the revitalization district map, it included the south side parcels along the river to include that Riverside Lounge, so they're able to apply for one.
Do they have a timeline of when they would like to open?
I don't know that. I haven't been in any conversation with them. This is just a, the permit application is for, I think Kevin's gone through for permitting purposes, as Kevin Schulteis has been in contact with them, but other than that, we haven't had any contact with the owners. So I couldn't tell you.
When there's no action needed from us today on this?
Correct.
Did you have a question, Lori?
I'm just curious, so, I mean, because there's been no action that I've seen over there, including cleaning up the place, that it looks like it's ready to do business or anything, so, I mean, I don't know what the purpose of, I don't see or have heard that there is a business that's going to be opening at this point? Just curious,
Yeah,
because it has been a problem.
yeah, it has under the old ownership, when the building was owned by the previous owner. It was an issue. I think they parked instead of having a fence there, they had a
There's still like a camper out there.
camper, something
Yeah.
there, yeah. So, there has been some activity in I mean, you can see it from the back of the property, oddly enough, because they seem like they're kind of moving things in and out, because there's no street. From the street, you can't see, there's no real good way to enter.
You can see in the windows though. It just seems like putting the cart before the horse to me.
Well,
You
it's
gotta
almost,
look at permit.
the same thing with the old Gracie's Taqueria. It's an application, so when the good news is, the application went to the state, and we're seeing it now. So there is some activity, if you look at it from that perspective. So they're just securing their permit for now until, they can get things off the ground. I did see during the summer, even, during the pandemic, there has been some activity. I mean, even activity at the old Brick and Brew has stalled. I don't know what's going on with that one either, but I believe they have a D5L also. They went through the process, got the application, but they don't technically have an occupancy permit yet. So once they get that finalized, which they're right on the cusp of that, they just haven't yet. I don't know what their plans are to open. So I think with a lot of new businesses like that, they've invested a lot of money, but when can they open? When does it make sense? You don't want to open and then not make money, because then they'll have to shut the doors. It's got to be worth their while, I guess. So I'm not defending them in any way. I just from what I'm hearing with other similarly situated buildings and owners, it's kind of up in the air when they're going to want to get opened.
They
Too
ran
many
out of
question
money.
marks.
One of the owners I talked to.
Pardon?
One of the owners I talked to said they ran out of money, so he actually had to go find a job
At the Riverview or
at
at Brick and Brew?
Yes.
Okay. So no action needed on this unless,
Nope, we don't need to do nothing.
okay. Any other comments, questions?
Just a comment that Chief Mack has had no contact other than code enforcement officer working with him.
Okay. All right, moving on to item K9. Discussion or action, acceptance of donations for aquatic center sponsorships.
Thank you, Council President. The last item here, there it is. So we did receive all 7 of the Funbrellas, sponsorships for all of them. That was $3,500 each. And these are all of the different organizations that contributed. So just requesting approval for the acceptance of these donations. Did everybody see that okay?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second?
Okay. Any questions or comments?
That's 7 photo opportunities when we cut the ribbon at the pool. So to make sure these 7 groups are invited to take pictures by their umbrellas and all that kind of stuff for them, for us, for both. Yep,
Yeah.
That's great support.
absolutely.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah,
Joe?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
All right, it's been accepted. We'll go around the table here, and we'll start with Molly today.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun to see all the success from the Napoleon students. The swimmers, the divers, bowling, ladies basketball. I think the speech team had some really cool success, so keep it up, Napoleon kids. You're doing great. That's it, thank you.
I have nothing.
Ditto Molly.
nothing else, thank you.
All right. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'll, just dovetail off what Molly was saying, that, that going away drive thing, that came together really quick. Just some emails and some phone calls, and next thing you know, the girls aren't leaving right from the high school, get on 24 and going, they're gonna drive through downtown and got some support, I think, a lot of people honking their horns and waving, and, I thought it was kind of really neat to see. We did that obviously quite a bit last year on their way back into town. It was nice to be able to do that on the way out, so, thanks to Councilman Bear. If you get an email from me, make sure you check the address. I do not send emails from boardtrustee8@gmail.com, even though my name is associated with that. So if you get an email address, make sure you check that. There's obviously an issue going on there. We talked about getting updates from the CIC. So this is the January report, director's report. CIC did not meet in February as planned, but this is from the January report. She's been working on 5 projects. She'll get a lead and tries to put a bid together from someplace here in Henry County. There's nothing standard about them. So if somebody wants 50,000 square feet, somebody wants 100,000, somebody wants this, somebody wants that. There's really no standard cookie cutter kind of thing. Every recipe is a little different, so it takes a little time to put all those together. She also attended a NORAD meeting, talked about CARES Act appropriations, workforce development, talked about with Joey Boston with the City of Napoleon's Energy Efficiency Program. Joel, that's AMP's person?
It's the Efficiency Smart.
Efficiency
person.
Smart,
It's a
okay.
separate, yeah.
So that helps.
They're separate entities.
Okay, but that helps. Talk to, local businesses and industries about how they can, lower their electric bills, retrofits, replacement, new equipment, all that kind of stuff. And she gets that word out to all the members of the CIC. Talk with the 5 county workforces, so it's the 4 counties, I think, plus Lucas, outside Toledo area, about wage benefit surveys. Everybody kind of paying the same thing, offering the same kind of thing, or somebody really out there. Talked to Jim Hoops about businesses, how they were doing during CARES Act and those kinds of things. I also talked about a meeting she had with Joel for, talk about a strategy for 2021. And she also presented at Rotary. So that's just a really quick synopsis of the things that she does, month in and month out. So also just typical stuff that she does. Do not do a whole lot of business retention and expansion meetings in 2020 due to COVID. Everybody's meeting, via Zoom. And she'd rather spend time actually in the businesses, talking to them and seeing what they need. She does do Zoom, obviously, but I think her preferred method is to get out and to go see them. So continue to work forward here in 2021 and trying to figure out how they can even be more effective with a pretty tight budget. So those are the majority of things that I had on my list today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, Dan?
Okay, 2 items. One, just dovetail a little bit on what the mayor said about the CIC. One of the changes they've made this year is the whole board's meeting 6 times, every other month, like January, March, etc. And then the committees are meeting 6 times, February, April, etc. And part of that is including with the committees, getting people who aren't necessarily board members, people, and I know, I think Lori, maybe you had expressed an interest at one time, that wants to get involved with some of the committees, to get involved in the committees even though you may not be a board member right now. So that's one of the things that they are looking for. If any of you, or if you know someone else that's interested in some of their committees, I think we can get the breakdown of the committees to you, either Jason or me.
Absolutely.
And they're trying to get more people involved that way by doing that. My other question is just sort of related to the TIF district out there, but not directly. I've had some questions about a traffic light at the intersection with the new Love's truck stop.
Yes.
And they want to know if that was still on the agenda.
Oh, boy. Let me follow up with you on that. I don't have an answer on that.
I've been out
You mean if
through
there's
there
gonna be
several
one
times, I
there?
haven't really noticed a problem yet, but just that question has came up.
There's a lot of, go ahead, I didn't mean to-
I would say the same thing. I mean, I've been out there quite a bit, and, I mean, it seems to flow very well. I mean, you stop, wait your turn, and move on, and I've never noticed a long line or anything.
Four-way stop is still the most efficient.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed an increased amount of traffic with gloves there, but I haven't seen where it's stacked up anywhere, so.
I have not noticed that, but the question was asked, so I wanted to bring it up.
Let me follow up and see what's in the plans. There was a traffic study that was done, and I don't know if there's gonna be, if there is any follow-up to it, if there's anything required at this time.
Thank you, that's all.
Ken?
We had a very nice police report was in the packet, and earlier we had one from the fire department. Very well done. That's it.
All right, thank you. Lori, you have anything for us?
Nothing tonight, but thank you.
Okay. Billy?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay. And Joel?
Just that, the annual report from the police department is finalized and in the packet. A lot of good information in there. We do have a new speed trailer that's been ordered. I don't have a timeline yet of when it's actually gonna be delivered. But that, looking back on the Woodlawn thing, that could help us, at least gather some data on, what's happening at Woodlawn, so. Also, the you'll notice, I didn't mention this during the discussion point on the acceptance of donations for the aquatic center. We do have a verbal commitment right now for the rock climbing wall, but there is from that sponsorship, it's requires a board approval, so we're waiting on that board approval to get that finalized, so there will be hopefully another acceptance of a donation for that item as well. And we'll have 6 of 7 of the umbrellas up at the time of the opening, the last one, because of the vector images that we're trying to get, the AMP one will not be up, so that'll be on the far, I guess, the west end. Far west end, so.
So is Jolene Thompson gonna come and accept that when it's time?
Yeah, well, somebody will, I don't know if she will or not, but she might make a special trip up for it. It'd be pretty cool.
Be nice to see her up here.
Yeah, would be. And that's all I have, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have anything to add tonight. Ken. All right. Moving on to item M, approve payment of bills. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills shall stand approved. Hearing none, they stand approved. Item N. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
We are